opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome. Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on YouTube as well as Spotify, I think, actually, is where the next funnest place to find us if you're not going to listen on the radio. We have a very special guest in the studio today. We have my nephew dog, Jedi. He is a Siberian Husky, I know you hear your name, a Siberian Husky Pomeranian mix, so he looks like a perpetual 6-month-old Siberian Husky puppy. And he's in the studio with us today as a surprise. And as soon as everyone settles down, he'll settle down. I hope he's a little bit of a talker because Siberian Huskies are talkers, but hopefully he doesn't talk too much on the mic. So how is everyone this week? How are you this week, Robin?
I'm good. Spring is here. I'm like, every day you can see new buds. The buds are getting bigger. My phlox are starting to pop. The daffodils are up. Azaleas are blooming. I'm like, just driving in. I'm like, what a great time to be alive.
When just all truly, of the trees bloom, it is just so special. And I want to announce that there is a bicycle sale Saturday, April 26th, 9 a.m. till sellout. It is at 17 Airport Road in Nashua off Amherst Street. It is hosted by Gate City Bike Co-op, and it is a fundraiser. They repair donated used bikes and give them to the greater Nashua area low-income residents for free. So they'll have quality used bikes priced at a fraction of original cost, tuned and ready to go, both adult and children's sizes. They will have mountain bikes, road bikes, and vintage bikes. They will take cash, check, or credit card. Again, this is the bicycle sale, Saturday, April 26th at 9 a.m. until sellout on 17 Airport Road in Nashua. So that'll be something fun.
Nice. It does sound fun. Hopefully have a good turnout.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
I should get my bike tuned up.
What kind of bike do you have?
I don't know. I don't know what the name. It's a hybrid, so it's supposed to be you can go a little bit on like dirt and stuff, but it's good for road biking too. It doesn't have the skinny wheels, but I got it years ago. There's a place up in Maine. I think it's called Marden's. It's like a discount store. It's kind of like it used to be Building 19 kind of a deal, but they would get stuff where companies would have like fire sales or things like that. So my father-in-law picked up my bike for me for like $100, and I'm telling you, everybody loves riding my bikes because the gears they just shift so smooth. Like first gear is not always first gear, and on different bikes and stuff. And I love it. I love my bike, and I love road biking. I don't like the mountain biking.
See, I'm always afraid of being run over.
Yeah, if you can find a good spot.
Yeah.
If you can find a good spot. Like the rail trail's perfect for it. It's paved. Yes. It's smooth. It's easy. I love it. It's kind of like rollerblading. It's like getting a good workout in, but you don't feel like you're getting a good workout. Because, I'm all about no punishment. I don't want to suffer.
I want to have a good time. Robin just wants to have a good time. Yes. I wanted to joke with you that I am a golf widow.
Are you? I used to.
From you.
Oh.
My friendship will resume in Robin in September.
I know. Oh, my goodness. Wow, yes. I can understand that. It's just, we've gotten the bug, and it's been so...
And it's beautiful weather. It's going to be the same thing. And then I joked, is there a motorcycle equivalent of the golf widow? And the answer is no, because you can fit 2 people on it.
It's true.
But I couldn't fit you and Chris on it. So at some point, you will be the reverse widow of the golf widow.
Yes.
Because we're coming into the season where 90% of the hobbies that we do are in the good weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been like just hinting, hey, can we open the pool? Can we open the pool? Can we open the pool? It's coming. We need a new pump.
Mm-hmm.
We need a new pump. So I think that's what he's waiting for. The guy's supposed to bring a new hot water heater, and he keeps saying, "Oh, I'll be there on Monday." And
Wednesday, Friday,
and we still haven't.
Monday.
No. And I've like planned my schedule to be home and available, and finally like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
So
So you still have no hot water?
no, we have hot water. It was just bubbling. It's like Alka-Seltzer when it comes out. It's just so like
Fizzled.
frothy,
Yeah.
and you can hear it like soda, like
Yeah.
when you pop the soda can. But anyway,
At least it's warm.
he's on it, hopefully. And I think he's bringing the pool pump too when we, because he's like, I don't want to go through all the mess of it. Let's just get it done and do it.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Guess what they now carry in CVS that they never carried in CVS while we were children? Or even up until now, I'm 50.
All right, well, let's see.
Something. I don't think you're going to guess.
Well, I feel like, so let me go down my quick list. Like it's got to be alcohol. Well, they already sold alcohol.
Yeah,
Beer.
no.
They sell beer, cigarettes, condoms, contraceptives, I think. Let me see.
Ooh,
They do
you're very
sell,
close.
They
You
sell
jumped on it right away.
food.
Uh-huh.
It's got to be like diaphragms or something because they already sell condoms.
They sell vibrators in CVS.
oh, yeah.
You're saying yeah?
Grocery stores sell them.
Vibrators?
Well, what kind? They have like the little mini ones I've seen. They have
They
like,
had a selection
oh, really?
next to the vitamins at my CVS. And I just thought, this is so weird because I don't know. I don't know why I think that's weird.
You can pick up some vitamins and a rabbit.
Right. Like I just thought it was so strange because I was actually in the vitamin section, and then it goes into the women's health section. I'm going to call that aisle
Yeah.
the women's health section. And I'm like going in, I'm like, I double take, and there's like a whole plethora to choose from. Is dating so bad? Is the world out there so bad that this needs to be, I got to go to CVS. Like I can't even drive to a particular, or do they even have those stores anymore? Because now porn is now online, and like before you used to have to go to the
there's actually
DVD store.
there's actually a couple of sex shops. There's one in Amherst where you wouldn't believe it. And I'm like, it's such a tiny
And maybe
place.
because they're not advertised the way
I
another
forgot the
business would
name of
advertise.
it. I forgot the name of it, but it's kind of I think there's one in Salem too. I'll have to Google it now.
Okay.
But it's like right behind like a kitchen and bath place, and it's like near Lowe's, and it's like kind of tucked in there. And I was like, what? I saw
So
that
I
on
was-
the sign, and I had to Google it a while back. And I'm like, huh?
Because I thought sex shop stuff is 18 and older, but just like cigarettes, you can buy cigarettes.
Would you have to be a certain age to buy a vibrator?
Well, that's what my question is. Can you be 12 in there? Like, what are all these things? And then the other
need that
thing
for
I
my
want,
back.
now that you ring yourself out, can you buy cigarettes without being 18? Can you just say, are you 18? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if you have to scan your ID, but you can't go and get them by yourself. There has to be somebody for alcohol and tobacco products
That's true.
because
Okay.
legally,
Yeah, you can't just ring yourself out of that stuff, I would think. But I was joking the other day that there's just so much stuff to do, and how I just don't have any patience. You know, say if prior to all of this technology and everything, I had the patience of a 6. Any day now I start at 3. And then the minute I've gone into a store where I have to ring myself out, I've gone to 0. And now I will have 0 patience for the rest of the day.
And I have to put my own card back.
And I have to manage my purse, and I don't have, just like when I had an apartment that there was no counter space and I didn't want to cook because where am I putting everything? Am I juggling the bowls? You know, you
Yes.
can't just give me that 12 inches on the side of a stove for counter space.
Yes.
So I feel that way about the supermarket. I have 12 inches on the right. I have
You have
maybe
nothing on
2
the
feet on the left.
You have that little tiny 12 inches on the left, and then on the right is where all your bags are. So you
Right.
have to
And then
set it
where does your
down.
purse go? And then you've got to be managing. Don't steal my purse. These are my groceries. I'm bagging myself. And, you know, and that's where my patience, the battery juice on my day goes.
Well, that's like the other day I was at Walmart, Again, it's my Walmart. I walk in.
Why do you torture yourself?
I know, because it's so close.
Okay.
It's so close, and I can go pick up a few things that I need without having to go to multiple stores. So if I need a couple of vegetables, and if I need some fruit, things like that, need dry goods, whatever, cat food, plants, I always like to go look at their solar lights, candles, and shampoo. Anyway, I had someone ring me out. I'm looking at my receipt as I'm walking by, and I put it in, and I'm playing this game with the people that sit at the door. I refuse to give you my receipt.
Yes.
If you think I'm
that way
stealing,
at BJ's.
I know.
Go ahead.
What do they look for?
Like,
But
I have $800 worth of stuff here. You're telling me you're going to find something? Get out of my way.
There's no way. There's no way I'm going to check the people that don't have anything walking out of the store. Not a whole cart full of groceries, and he's like handing me a receipt, and I literally, as he's watching me, stuck it in my purse and walked out. And I'm like, nope.
And it is not illegal to do so. I actually looked it up once.
Why do I have to show you my receipt?
Yeah.
I just had somebody to check me out.
And one time,
Have more workers take away the self-checkout. And I'm not sure why you
Yeah.
just started doing this, but I avoid them if they're sitting there. And I'm like, what an easy job. I walk in through the garden center the other day, and the guy's just sitting there on the stool. And I'm like, is that your job all day, just to sit at the door and just guard people and watch people's receipts? Isn't that what security is about?
Well, my whole thing is have the employees, just have them ring us out, and then we won't have to deal with that.
Right.
But
Right.
even BJ's used to do that before because they don't have bags. So there was like,
Costco's does it.
Yeah.
They do it. I don't. Maybe they're looking for, but they're usually pretty quick about it. But
yeah,
if
no,
Walmart
I'm not
went
in the
on,
mood.
if Walmart went on to say they comment about they didn't care about people stealing.
There's a couple of businesses that said that. So I thought that was kind of
So now all of a
interesting.
sudden you
free
get
reign.
receipts. That's not the solution to your problems. Get more cashiers and
Yeah.
then stop being harassed on my way out.
I talked to someone once, and they were a business person, and they owned stock in Walmart. And I said, "Aren't you afraid with all the self checkout that you're going to have a lot of theft?" And they were like, "We don't really care about that." I'm like, "Don't be ridiculous. No
Right.
business doesn't care about theft. Like that's a stupid thing to say. That's an absolutely stupid thing to say."
Yeah.
And I was hoping that this wouldn't happen. So my little nephew is a Siberian Husky, and he's a very talkative dog. And now that we're not paying attention to him, he's barking. So I hope you can't hear it too much on radio. We'll try to see what we can do.
So Chris just sent me a quote this morning. I thought that was good. The spirit of your aim is what answers prayers.
You know what I was thinking? This is perfect. This goes in this. Thursdays was the day that I used to watch my nephews. So don't plan on anything on a Tuesday. I have a 6-week-old. I have a 9-month-old. I have a 18-month-old and a 9-month-old. I just don't plan anything on Thursday. The only day of the week anything could ever happen was a Thursday. Now that I have the radio show, don't plan anything on a Thursday. The only thing I can't do on a Thursday is I have my radio show. And I think it's because I am so focused on Thursday as a very important day that the universe just gets, Thursday's the day.
Yes.
Just throw everything on Thursday.
Yes.
Just throw everything on Thursday.
But look, so far, so good.
So far, so good. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. I do like the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't watch everybody on there. I only watch the guests I actually care about, which mostly include authors for me.
Well,
I like Elon
there's
Musk, too.
some great comedians on there that I hadn't heard of before. But did you ever watch? Have you watched Kill Tony?
Do you know I watched 2 episodes and I couldn't get through either one of them?
Oh,
So I watched one with Shane Gillis. So Kill Tony is a show. So the 2 that I saw took place in the Mothership, which is a comedy club in Austin,
It's Joe
originated by
Rogan's,
Joe
yeah.
Rogan. And it's this comedian, whatever Tony's name is. And what he does is he invites on comedians and gives them their 60 seconds or their 2 minutes to do their skit and try to see what
Yes.
that's like. So I watched such horrible people, and then they asked them questions afterwards.
the interviews are sometimes the best.
Okay, because the comedy was not good.
Right. But so in between, so he has, I forgot, Ari. He's got a couple of regulars that will come on and do a new minute. And so he's providing a platform for young and budding artists. So I
Yes.
like with the bucket pull.
Yes.
And so I like it. It's real.
But I don't like public humiliation. It's why I don't like cooking shows where they vote people off and then grown men cry.
Yeah.
Because
Well, when
this
they're
was
rude
their dream.
about it. But if it's a competition, like I get it. So
I do get it, but I don't like it because I don't like public humiliation. I don't like any kind of humiliation, but I
Yeah.
certainly don't like the public form
well,
of it.
but I think that part of comedy is there's such a
if you're gonna
big section of comedy is about roasting.
yes.
So, and I think that it does help build.
Do you know I don't watch roasts though?
I don't either. But there's something about. My son has hand selected the ones that we've been watching, so maybe it's unfair
You're having
for
the
me
best
to
of the
say
best
yes.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last night we watched one with Kid Rock on there, and that was pretty funny. And they had the two comedians. They had who's the guy who always dresses up like Dr. Phil? And he also does Joe Biden.
Yes. So that's when I watched when Shane Gillis came out as Trump, and then that comedian came out as Biden, and those two were
I
funny.
didn't see that one, but
Those two were funny, but the people were so not funny. And again, you're a budding comedian, and they said, how long have you been doing stand-up? 8 years. You have to have a better 2 minutes than that after 8 years, or you need to stop doing comedy. But then, it was funny watching those two, kind of do the conversation.
Yes.
They weren't roasting. They were doing
Yes.
more comments as Trump and comments as,
yes,
you know.
yes.
So that was pretty good, but I didn't get into it. I couldn't get into
Yeah.
it. So I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had it on Douglas Murray. So Douglas Murray, I want to take Douglas Murray's brain, put it in a jar and keep it at my house, and then take it out and pet it whenever I want, which is such a Hannibal Lecter-ish thing to say, but it's something I want to say. He is an author, and he is a speaker, and he always goes out for debates and whatnot. And so part of the thing that I like about him is he's written a number of books, and they're very easy to make very difficult conversations distillable and easy to digest, which is what I love
Yeah,
about
yeah.
him. And he has a British accent, so he sounds so articulate and
Yes.
posh. And one of the things that Joe Rogan did was bring on Dave Smith, who would be the antithesis of Douglas Murray. So he's a comedian. He's not a writer. He does talk a lot about politics. He has his own podcast. And then he was having those two kind of debate the sides, obviously based on Douglas Murray, his latest book, and all of the work he's been doing
What was the title of his latest book?
on
It was about
democracies and death cults. And he, by trade, he's an investigative journalist.
Yes.
One thing that I think I love so much about him is that he is on the quest for the truth. And I think every investigative journalist should be on a quest for the truth. And because I have consumed so much Douglas Murray, I have read his books, I have read his articles in the New York Post, I believe, not the New York Times, I believe it's the New York Post, The Spectator. He writes prolifically everywhere. He speaks prolifically, long form on Jordan Peterson and Modern Wisdom and Joe Rogan. He has multiple episodes. So I feel that I know him. I've read him for years. I've watched him for years. And I am a Douglas Murray fan. So we're going to go into this podcast saying, I love Douglas Murray. I adore him. He's so smart, and he's so articulate, and he's brilliant. And he cares about the truth, which as an investigative journalist, I think is the most important part
Yes.
of being a journalist. And because I've watched him and listened to him, I feel like, not that I know him, obviously I don't know him, but I know of his work.
Do you feel like on that podcast he felt maybe a little bit pigeonholed?
100%.
Because, reading a lot of the comments, it's like he never answered the question. He never came back around. So I don't know. Was he
So-
feeling the pressure? Because I don't feel like they ever really got to the topic.
They never got to the topic. So what they did was Joe Rogan's, now Douglas Murray, every time he has a book, he comes on and talks to Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan talks a little bit about the stuff in the book, but Joe Rogan is a curious creature who just has
Yes.
conversations. And this time, when that's the press circuit that Douglas Murray is coming on the Joe Rogan show. Apparently, Joe Rogan said you can only come on if I can have Dave Smith on. Now, Dave Smith has been on Joe Rogan a number of times. He is a comedian. He's obviously a good friend. And I don't think, because he wanted a more of a debate style show that wasn't going to be like the Piers Morgan where there's 5 panelists all shouting over each other. He wanted more of this long form dialogue of a debate type conversation, because he felt like you disagree fundamentally about some major things. One of the major things they disagree about is the fact that who's on the side of Israel and who's on the side of Hamas or the Palestinians. Now, a lot of people, when they think that they're on the side of Palestine, that they're also not on the side of Hamas, because they're like, well, Hamas is a terrorist organization and the Palestinian people are the Palestinian people. So a lot of people, I think, separate those two. However, in that region, so again, when do you remember, we actually had this radio show. I was in Toronto when October 7th happened. We were at a global conference for real estate managers in Toronto. And we show up traveling. We get on the boots on the ground in Toronto.
Right.
We start walking around the city, and we are in the middle of protests. And we are like, what is happening? The street was starting to swarm like a violent mob. And we were like, we got to get out of this. Like, we were just wandering. And we were like, we got to get back on. We turn on the news, and we see that Hamas had attacked Israel. And from that point forward, there has been this political push. Everyone says, I stand with Palestine. I stand, with the Palestinians. I stand with Israel. They've taken these sides. And when I came on the show, I'm like, I don't know what goes on in that region. I feel like it's been an argument for hundreds of years, and I have no idea what's going on. Well, since that point, I've read a lot of the things that have been going on, and I've been listening to multiple sides, but I do take what Douglas Murray has to say on the topic, and he wrote a book about it, which I do have. And he's trying to dig down to the truth, but you can tell that he's pro-Israel. And there was a really interesting article called The Case for Proportionality. So one of the major concerns when people are talking about that war, they say, well, the Israelis are going too far. And my point is, don't start a fight you can't. Like, be careful who you start a fight with.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Right. Be careful. You started.
If you're going to start a fight, be prepared.
Now you're asking the people who have been attacked and who were peaceful and who were horrifically attacked to only put a certain response back. And Douglas Murray wrote this article, how that doesn't make any sense, because are you saying of all the people you beheaded, we can only behead the same amount of people in you? For all the people that you raped, we get to rape the same amount of people. Like, that's not an argument.
Right.
But that seems to be an argument. So to get back to the Joe Rogan show, what was interesting was I don't think Douglas Murray I don't think he understood really why he had to debate this guy, because I don't think he saw him as on par with expertise about the subject he had expertise in. Yeah. And I think he took umbrage to that.
And I feel like there was a lot of negative comments about Douglas Murray.
So there were, because I don't think people are very familiar with Dave Smith from the show and Joe Rogan, but people don't know Douglas Murray. And I think a lot of people just took the accent as, who do you think you are, talking down to us? And it's like, no, that's just the accent. That's half of the thing that we love about him. And he's so articulate that he's almost like, there could be times where you get he's insulting you, but you don't know you're being insulted because it's too smart.
But I wonder sometimes if ahead of time if you're going on the podcast like that. You know.
He did know, because it was, you can only go on if you're debating Dave Smith.
Yeah.
But what I think...
But did they know the topic? Like, did they know the exact topic? And
it's going to be about Israel. It's about the book.
They did go down a bunny trail for... And so I do feel like it was an unfair representation of him.
Of Douglas Murray, Douglas Murray, for sure. And he raised the question, he called Joe out at the very beginning about expertise. He said, when you have these guests on and when people are talking about things in a public forum, be careful if you call yourself an expert. Because if you don't call yourself an expert, but you're pontificating about something, like if I started saying the world is flat here on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, on WSMN.live, as well as YouTube. No,
Spotify.
But if I came here and said that I was the expert, and then I started spouting off that the world is flat, and then all of a sudden I go on Joe Rogan and the world is flat, and I get interviewed, right? You'd be like, what is going on here? We don't have to have that fight anymore. The world is not flat.
Right.
You're all set. No one fell off the edge of the ocean when they got to the horizon.
Right.
We proved that so long ago. We don't have to bring that back. But I bring up that point because you would probably stop. You would either say, I'm listening to the show because these two ladies are out of their mind. They say the world is flat. And you're listening to it for a contrast to, and maybe we're really funny about the fact that the world is flat.
A ridiculous thought concept.
But what Douglas Murray was challenging Joe on, you had the Vice President of the United States on, you had the President of the United States on, you have a platform and you have a voice, so therefore you have a responsibility. And if someone claims to be an expert, they better sure be an expert.
Yeah.
And that was the 45 minutes of the beginning of the show. And I felt like both Dave Smith, well-read person, I don't know much about him, but he seemed very well-read. And he's funny. He's a comedian. And Joe Rogan almost willfully understood Douglas Murray because Douglas Murray was trying to talk about, I am an expert in this because I've dedicated my life to it.
And here's why.
And here's why. So
I don't think he ever got to the here's why.
He never got to that. And he did say on a different show, I think it was called Unheard, I probably would have been better off making my point that if I came on the show to Joe Rogan and said, I'm an expert in MMA, and then started spouting inaccuracies and misinformation, you'd correct me real quick. And you would be sure to tell me I'm not an expert in MMA.
Right.
So don't sit here when I'm telling you you're not an expert on the Israeli-Hamas war, and I am. And he's not saying don't have an opinion. He's not saying only the experts can have an opinion. What he's saying is be careful of the platform that you have and who you're calling out as experts, because now the misinformation is harmful. One of the things that Douglas Murray talks about in War of the West as well, which is another great book. So as you can tell, huge Douglas Murray fan. Shouting out on this microphone that I would love to interview Douglas Murray. And I promise I will not just fall at his feet in adoration, but I would actually have a conversation. I promise. Even though I'd be like a puppy for like 2 seconds.
It might need to be a 3 hours. So you get the first 45 minutes of drooling and I love you, love you, love you out of the way.
How did you do that with your brain? Can I take your brain?
What do you eat for breakfast?
Yeah, right. So I promise it would be somewhat articulate. I've read enough of the books that I could put it together and I could write all my questions down. But I'm obviously a Douglas Murray fan, and I feel that was the least, that was not the best way to be introduced into him, because I feel like it was an attack.
Yeah.
And then I felt like someone who's good at arguing. So have you ever had an argument with someone who's so good you're agreeing with them even though what they're saying is factually wrong? Have you ever had one of those?
I've not really had that experience yet because I am an expert. I feel
Arguing.
like it takes a lot to get one up on me.
Yeah.
I've very quick wit. No, I'm just kidding.
You do.
No,
You
I
actually
have
do.
definitely matched. I have. There are a few times that I've been stung.
Yeah, so I joke around that this is why I don't like cults, and this is why when anyone wants me to say yes 3 times, whether it's a salesperson or somebody, I won't
Yes.
say yes the 4th time, even though it's
Even
is
if
the
I
sky
have to
blue?
duct tape my
Yes.
mouth.
Is
yes.
the sky blue?
It's not coming out.
Is the, is the name of this ocean the Atlantic Ocean? Yes. Do you believe in whatever? No. Like, I'm not, are you 5'4"? No. You are 5'4". I don't care. I'm not saying the third yes.
Right.
But the reason why I wanted to pose this is because it made me seriously think, well, we have a radio show. But we don't pretend to be an expert on actually anything.
No. No. I think you just share your opinions. I have a strong belief system in certain things, but that's why I feel like it actually goes back down to like when like The Amazing Race, Survivor, all of these reality shows, and you do this and you hear them puffing themselves up, or these, challenges. You hear them puffing themselves up like, I'm going to win this, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it goes sideways almost every single time. Every single time you call out something like that in a cockiness or
the universe says, are you sure?
That's how I feel. Yeah. I do. I feel I've watched it happen like so many times. People are going to, I think it's the way in which you call your shot. Mm-hmm. Is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, and I don't even like calling my shot in pool. Like, I don't like being like, oh, right corner, because I'm like, maybe.
Well, it's kind of, it's certainly like in golf. Like, I'm not going to, like, of course, when I'm standing over the ball, I'm picking my line, and I'm like, yes, I feel good about this. But even when he and I get into a challenge, and he comes at me like a little bit competitive, he's like, all right, let's see who's got the best ball. And, all, and he starts ribbing me just a little bit. I have, like yesterday, I sunk 2 30-foot putts. Ooh. And it was it was in the fringe. So it was in the thick grass off of the green.
The curly hair.
Which most people will chip it, but I'm like, oh, I'd actually feel better. So I was like, I got this. But I didn't want to call it. But the minute he starts ribbing me and gets that little competitive, I just unravel. I don't, even though I'm like, all right, game on. And as soon as I have that energy is like, I'm going to beat you, I'm just like, no, I like to keep my quiet confidence and just let my ball, let it falling in the cup be my challenge or my retort.
Yeah. So that's sometimes why, depending on what it is, I don't like to be competitive, because there's a performance anxiety to it. And when I saw that exchange on that podcast, I thought, this is not really, I wish this is such a public platform. And he did talk about after the fact, like, we must have broke the internet, because the amount of comments, and 50% of the comments on Joe's, it's probably more than 50% disliked Douglas Murray. They kept calling him elitist.
Yeah.
They kept, and it's like, that's the accent, that's just that beautiful British accent. But what I wanted to say was, he really actually has he was embedded over there. He's searching for the truth, and he's not, one of the things that had happened, and the reason of the rise of the podcast, is that the news media has lied to us so publicly, to our face, and they have told us, do not believe your lying eyes.
Well, I mean,
believe
CDC.
what I'm telling you.
Look
the
at the
CDC.
CDC.
Right. But I even think of when there was protests, and there's the guy on CNN in front of a building that is literally on fire. It says mostly peaceful protest. Or
right.
when the woman's at the NASCAR
rally.
You
can see in the background they're throwing TVs, and people are standing on top of tractor trailers.
And stuff is on physical fire. Yes. Like, this isn't protest if the city is burning down. Yes. There was nothing peaceful about that protest. The same thing on the NASCAR race, where they're all screaming F Joe Biden. And they're like, they're chanting, let's go Brandon. And you're like, we can hear them. You're mic'd. We can hear them.
Right.
So then you have COVID. And then you have the Russian hoax.
But we have
Hunter
a vulnerability.
Biden
when someone says expert, it's something inside of us to say, oh, maybe we should listen.
Just like the news, right? That's why we are so bent out of shape when the news is not factually collecting the stories or doing the investigative journalists required.
Well, they don't have the standard anymore to report facts. And they don't couch it in a way to say, hey, we're speculating that this is going to happen. It was even like the Boston Marathon bombing. That was like the biggest, one of the wake-up calls to me, being like, they don't have to fact check. Or even the Sandy Hook shooting. Originally, it was like the teacher worked there, or that it was one of the teacher's sons they had gotten the sun wrong. It was the wrong sun that they had thought was attacking at first. Like, they didn't have to check these things, but think about that the sun that was accused on all of the news, all of the world. Your name's being put out there unfairly. You don't have to fact check that stuff. Their standard has changed so much. But then you can't say a cuss word.
Right, but then because the standards have changed and we're in this stage where we're tearing stuff down. But we have to be very careful what we build up in its place.
Yes. Well,
don't
I think
build
that's
on the shaky
why,
foundation.
I think that's the reason why YouTube, and I think there's lots of different platforms for media and podcasts are becoming more and more popular than breaking away from news anchors and regular news channels. Because I think people are starting to be more and more open to the idea that we have our own opinion. For years, I think as a society, I think that we've been told you need to listen because I'm an authority. And I think now that's being questioned. Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't leave me that. You got 15 minutes. We good. Anyway, so I think that it's, I think with podcasting and all of that stuff, it's being more open and aware that people are starting to question authority more.
And I think that they do have a voice and a platform. And because we are getting away from the traditional media in that sense, they are getting more and more power. And I think that's what Douglas Murray's original question was. The original question I think that he posed was, do you think you're accurately, now that you have this platform and you have this important position in the world, are you wielding all of that responsibly? And do you understand that you now have this position where you joke around, oh, but I'm just a comedian? Or Joe Rogan does come to all of his stuff from a curiosity standpoint, but some of these other people did not. And Dave Smith very much considered himself an expert on the war over there. And he was giving information that was factually inaccurate. And Douglas Murray could say it was inaccurate because he was physically there.
Right.
So he wasn't hearing third party or what was reported or, he was physically there and witnessed it. And that's where the next 45 minutes they go off the rails about when Douglas Murray says, have you been to the region? And he says, no. He's like, then how can you talk about it? And then they just go on this 45-minute tear of you don't only talk about places you've been to. And it's like, of course not. However, you're saying something that's factually wrong. I have been there. I'm telling you it's factually wrong, and you're still arguing with me instead of learning something new.
Yes.
Instead of learning something new.
Well, it's just like when Hitler, when we were over in Germany back in 2017, we met quite a few people in Germany that said that they still don't believe that the Holocaust. We went and visited Dachau, and actually in the town of Dachau, there were many people that deny that Hitler ever did what he did, and people deny it, but it's still. Like, that's a source of contention there. Even when you have, like, I forgot, it was, like, New Balance, or there was a thing, the lady was telling us when you have your shirt open, the two words, like, put together was some kind of symbolic thing, like, so they don't wear certain things. I feel like it was New Balance, but was representative as a symbol of during that time. Anyway, like, I'm not an expert, but just listening and experiencing, and like, how can you live in such denial that you've experienced it? People have experienced it. Like Douglas Murray, I've experienced it. You may have done all this research, book research, but when you actually have, boots on the ground, you have an actual experience. I think both are knowledgeable, but don't.
Well, I was hoping, because I thought that show was a car crash of an argument. It wasn't a debate. I know Joe Rogan said he wanted this cool debate that would be really fascinating, but it didn't turn into a debate. It turned into someone who it appeared that, I'm not debating someone who doesn't have all the information and all the facts.
Yeah.
Put an expert up here and let's debate.
Yeah.
And I think it came across that, oh, Douglas Murray thinks he's better than so-and-so. No, he just thinks in this particular arena, just like he doesn't claim to be an MMA expert or a comedic expert. He doesn't claim to tell,
Right.
He's staying in his lane. And although we can obviously talk about anything,
Yeah.
we can talk about anything, we have opinions about anything, but we have to be careful in this world where we have torn down the authority. We've
Yes.
torn down the authority
Yes.
figure, and now many authorities have popped up. So we used to have, I would even say it from like a government standpoint,
Right.
you have the one cult leader,
Right.
right? But when that cult leader gets killed and you have 100 pop-up fake cult leaders.
Right.
And I think that when like the fall of the Soviet Union or so many different things that happen politically, and they say, isn't this going to be great? We've destabilized these awful people. Well, a lot of other awful things pop up in it as well. In
Yeah.
its place.
Yeah.
If you tear something down without having something better to put in its place, and is it great that we don't have gatekeepers? Isn't it great that we don't have gate people? Yes, but you also don't have anyone fact-checking anything.
Right.
That's what
But
the
you also have a
gatekeepers used to be able to
responsibility.
do.
But we also have to have. I think when you tear something down and you create a new space for new authority or a new guideline, new rules of playing, or a new way of going, a new direction of going, I think that you need to have a sense of responsibility. We have our own sense of responsibility to weed out the information for ourselves. So I think that we have to be a little bit more eyes wide open and a little bit more discerning. Question: does this something resonate with me? Is this something that I agree with? Or instead of just asking ourselves better questions, instead of just taking it for face value. That's why I think that news media has gotten torn down, because we were told our whole life is you have to listen to the news. The news is the truth. It is the real thing. It's the fact.
And it used to be objective because it used to talk about
What news comes out of this in which way. But now that we've torn it down, us tearing it down is a symbol of us saying we no longer agree. We no longer agree with your approach. We are saying, hey, this doesn't sit right with us. And so now that we've torn it down, we have a duty and we have a responsibility to say, well, what do we want moving forward?
what do we want that to look like?
Yes.
And I think that's so. I think one of the things about a really good journalist is you ask questions without the answer.
Yes.
You're not trying to steer the answer in a particular direction.
Well, that's the difference between a coach and a mentor. A coach is going to tell you what to do. Here's the next play. A mentor is going to guide you. They will ask
you to come
the
up with your
questions.
own, yes.
For you to come up with your own answers.
Yes.
And so I think that's what we're going back into now. Not that news is the coach, but we assigned them the authority figure and that they are the expert in it. Now we're saying, no, you might not be the expert in it. But I do think going forward, we have, in order for that to grow, we need to grow individually, is saying, is this something? Is this something? Is this the truth? Is this my truth? Their truth? What is, and find what our own truth is.
Right.
And our own opinion. We have a duty to do that instead of just like, oh, okay, we've torn this down and now we've created a new system, but we're going to do what we always did. So if you always do what you always did, you're always going to get what you always got.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about there has felt like there is a narrative and it's so obvious it's a narrative.
Yes.
It's not research. It's not journalism. It's not questions. It's not experiencing. It's top-down, follow this narrative. And that's where the problem lies. And if you're going to go against that, again, it has to be more question-based. One of the things that I found so disturbing about that Joe Rogan, Dave Smith, and Douglas Murray podcast is where were the questions? You have the opportunity to talk to somebody who just wrote a book, who just has been embedded both in the Ukraine and in Israel, in both of those conflicts, and have talked to people on the ground. You have a chance to ask people who have firsthand accounts of what's going on. And not only did you not ask him questions, you told him your opinion was more valid than theirs.
So here's the thing that I've learned.
Which I thought was disappointing, because I think both people know better and could do better.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think here you have, this is supposed to be a book tour for this guy talking about his book, and basically you were trying to call him out as a charlatan or something.
Well, here's one of the tools that I picked up. It's a thermometer. It's a gauge, what I go by. If you're in a conversation with someone, and it should be questions, just like that podcast, like, if you're in a conversation and if you're not asking questions, they're either pushing their narrative or they're pushing their own agenda. They really don't care. So I just stop. I kind of break that communication, because I think every exchange should be a value for value exchange in those situations. When they didn't ask him about questions anymore. When you stop asking questions and you just keep over talking, you're only pushing your narrative forward.
Right.
And so that's what I keep thinking about. So I just use that, like, even when I'm in conversations with people, if you're going to overtalk me and you're not going to ask me any questions, this isn't a dialogue. You're trying to push your agenda and your narrative. Now, do I want to match you? Do I feel like my agenda or my narrative is? Because then I will overtalk you as well.
Right, and then we no longer have a conversation.
Yeah, so it wasn't a book tour for him. That was a failed podcast for, a launch for. I mean, did good information come out of it?
Or did it open up? Was it not a failure because it opened up this question on your
expert and authority?
Yeah. Yeah, and then what do we think about that? Because we've lost faith in our experts. We've lost faith in the CDC. We've lost faith in the World Organization. We've lost faith in our governments. We've lost faith in the news media. What do we have faith in?
Right.
And so now I do think the podcast world has gotten, we've had people tell us, don't call your radio show a radio show, call it a podcast. It would be more viable. And it's like, well, but we are on the radio. We are live. We can't swear. Because if we had a podcast, if we had a podcast, there'd be F-bombs in here left and right, but there's not. And, we could edit out the
a little bit tackier subjects.
Yeah, there'd be definitely some R-rated subjects in there, for sure.
It's hard trying to keep it PG-13.
It's very difficult.
And because I feel like PG-13 is, that's even changed. There's so many times, there's so many things that you couldn't show labels, like beer labels and things like that. When we were growing up, you couldn't show alcoholic labels. And now, like on movies and TVs and things like that, there's certain things that you couldn't show. I mean, obviously when Coke or whatever, Diet, I'm still waiting for Diet Dr. Pepper to sponsor me. But
again, just reach out, Lisa and Robin on the mic at gmail.com.
We're here.
Go to any of our Facebook or Instagram, DM us. We're totally down for that.
Yes. So fun. Side note. What's funny is, I had to sign up for this. I've been in this contention with Facebook. I've been a user since 2009, and then I had to start a new Facebook account so I could message corporate, or I could have access to Meta. So I get in there, I go into my old account, I report it, and it gave me this whole long section to speak in, had like 1,200 words or 1,500 words or something. I said, it's identity theft, it's fraud, and it's all these different things, and I screenshotted where it said, was this you? And I'm like, I've proven to you over and over again that this is my account. This is a phony, and people are actually falling for it. I knew somebody, and you still it's been reported over 100 times. It's still not been taken down. And so I got an email notification yesterday that the jury's back, and they've decided that they're not going to do anything about it.
I think you should go to the police. Because
So-
if someone takes, and I, this is how I feel. We learned that like hundreds of thousands of people per day have their identity stolen on Facebook.
300,000.
300,000. So if then someone takes your likeness and then starts taking people's credit card information and does fraudulent things with it in your likeness, that is a crime.
They have. And there's people that are on my friends list are commenting on these.
But I think that Facebook would have to acknowledge a police report. That's my theory. I think they would, because how are you now ignoring the police? You can't ignore a police's investigation. And the police may say, hey, look, we have enough crime. We don't want to deal with that. But in your town, I don't think you have enough crime that they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to dedicate weeks long like this is a murder, but get them to stop stealing people's money with my name
Right.
and my face
Yes.
and my
Yeah.
11 years of Facebook history.
So I feel like everybody's like, when are you going to go back on Facebook? When are you going to go back on Facebook?
Why
I
would
kind of
I?
feel like, why do I want to? You've done me dirty, man. You've done all your people dirty. It's just a platform where you've got bots communicating. They probably actually don't even read, and they don't care. They don't care that other people are getting harmed. Not just me, that they've stolen my account, but they still keep it active after over 100 people have
Way more than 100 because I've reported it almost every day.
Yeah. And it's still not getting, they're not doing anything about it. So why do I want to align with a company that doesn't give a crap about me?
Right. Right. It's a really good question. And we put all of our information, we have this online presence that is provided by these companies. And do they have a responsibility to wield that so that it can't be used against us? Like right now, your name, your likeness, your reputation with your almost 2,000 subscribers or followers, whatever they are on that platform, is trashed.
Yeah.
It is absolutely trashed.
And I don't mind recreating it, but I want my memories. I have a lot of photos and things on there. And some of that stuff is like, those are personal. Like even some of my messages are personal. Like I have, my cousin died in a helicopter crash, bad on me that I should have saved it. But our last communication is on Messenger. I have no access to it. So I just feel wrong. And I feel like kind of ties into what we're talking about with Joe Rogan and being an expert and being, when you have a voice that reaches many people, we do have an obligation and a responsibility.
You were listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and you can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. We are going to go to the top of the hour. We will continue this conversation as well as a few others next. Stay tuned.